Hi guys. Hello and welcome to today's Plumbers of Data Science episode, where we're continuing with the Spark Week. Today is day 2 of Spark Week, and I have to admit I have made some changes to the schedule. Yeah, I hope you had a great day, or you're having a great day, depending on where you are. And yeah, if you're new to the channel, we're mostly doing data engineering here. And if you're into that, hit the subscribe to the channel and check out in the description. There is a link to the 100 plus pages cookbook on GitHub. That's free. We're working on that all the time, and I'm putting new stuff in there, new links, and so on and so on and so on. And yeah, I hope this helps you. So today I needed to make a bit of a change to the schedule because I hadn't so much time to prepare. At some point in one of the next streams, I'm going to show you a typical schedule for my day. So it's ridiculous, but yeah. Okay. What I changed and what I want to talk about today in this Spark topic, Spark Day 2, is this. Just a quick, let me just check something here. This has nothing to be here. I just need to check that nothing strange is on the screen here. Okay. So what we're going to talk about, I ditched a few things, and I want to show you a Git book today from Jacek Laskowski. If you're into Spark and you're on Twitter and so on, you might have heard about him, and he has a Git book, and he's a monster. He basically did everything we want, or I wanted to do here on this stream. So, but this can help us, and this is interesting, and I'm going to use this to go forward, and especially in this stream where we are getting a bit into the details of Spark. So we're going to talk about RDDs. We're going to talk about actions and transformations. A bit about caching, and caching is more like we can wrong thing here. Caching / tuning. And then quickly into broadcast variables, and then that's more or less it. Gitbook, you're going to see this. It's like GitHub, but you can write more or less books there. Super interesting. I chose not to use it for my cookbook. People said use that for the cookbook, but I'm writing the cookbook in LaTeX, and that's not made for LaTeX. So, yeah. Before we start, one thing I was in the last stream, we were talking a lot about Databricks and Spark and so on. The other way around, Spark and Databricks, and Dave Dude said a lot about Databricks, and I was looking at Databricks today. I have to admit I'm not a huge fan right now of how to use this for these streams. I don't want to work with stuff that needs some free access to some cloud things, and yeah. So but what I have seen on the Databricks side, the main site on Databricks, you scroll a bit down, unifying data science and engineering. So here you have data engineering. It's right there. Ooh. And that's awesome. That's absolutely awesome. You cannot see it. I'm sorry. Let's here. The main page. It's right there on the main page. Still working with the tool. Your main page, scroll a bit down. Unifying data science and engineering. And that's, to see data engineering here. It's great. So people are getting on the data engineering train and they realize data engineering is getting more and more important. I'm guessing Databricks, it's important for Databricks because it's important for a important use case or use for Spark. So that was really nice to see. What I didn't like was basically where was that here? Platform. I don't know where it was. I was looking at a demo thing and so on, but I only could find a version for some cloud, a free version, but it doesn't matter. I don't want to get into Databricks right now. What are you guys saying? David says, please let me know what you feel about my suggestion that you've sent me through email. I hadn't had time to. I've saw this, but it's literally a huge email. I don't have, or I don't have no. I haven't had time to look into this. Demetrius, some input from my small XP with Databricks. It's easy to configure the clusters with DB for people with no experience in data engineering, DevOps, aka data science. I like this small dig into data scientists. It's a great tool to start using Spark in the cloud. Yeah, I mean, that's what I expect from such a solution. But Spark is for Databricks is only a small part. Has great functionality jobs without even coding it. Just some clicks and you could create a pipeline. Yeah, I don't know. How should I say this? I'm feeling more like a purist or something like I mean the typical Spark environment is very easy to use. And if you pair it with something like we talked about with Nick, you pair it with something like Zeppelin, then it's getting easy and not that complicated to use. Also, I'm not sure how to move on and what to use in this instance. I'm leaning right now towards something like Spark with Zeppelin on top of it. I don't know. Okay. So next thing is the book from Jacek. That is really a huge book. So he has basically everything here. You can scroll down RDD, machine learning, Spark application, how to Hadoop data sets, and so on and so on. It goes on and on and on, and you can go into detail everything, securing the web UI, Spark on Yarn. Let's click at Spark on Yarn here, and it's really really deep, and you can go very very deep here, and it's a crazy resource. What I'm going to try to do in this series, however, is to point you in the right direction. I'm not going to go that deep into everything. I'm going to try to show you a path that you can explore. And I think this is an interesting resource for all this stuff. So like in the last session, what we have been talking about DHE scheduler. So here you can he has something on DHE scheduling, and basically how this looks, driver with the RDD and the partitions and so on. You don't need any cloud service to use Databricks. That's for production Databricks on AWS or Azure. Yeah, can I use it on my notebook here? I don't know. I'm not sure. I haven't. I've looked into Docker Hub, but haven't found anything new. I don't want to do any comparisons here. Or maybe I don't know. Yeah. So as you can see, this stuff, also DHE scheduling, this is very. You can go into all the details, and if you want to go into details, this is an awesome resource. Okay. So what we're going to talk about now is basically the basics of Spark, and I think this is very interesting, and you need to know this, and you need to know why you would use these types. So the basic thing with Spark, this is very, very old, are RDDs. RDDs are super, are one of the earlier models of how to let's say process data. RDD is called a resilient distributed data set, and resilient because it's fault tolerant and distributed, so it can be, or it lives on multiple nodes in a cluster, and it's a data set, and it's a partitioned data set. So you're creating, you don't only have rows, for instance, rows in the RDD. These are also getting partitioned and then sent over, or get distributed over the nodes in the cluster. So this is very important. What you have is simple RDDs, like strings of a text. What you can also have are pair RDDs, like the text and a number, or another text. This is variable. So these are the two main things that you can work with. As I showed you in the last stream with the counting, this it's a bit like, can I find this quickly? Let me check it. Where was that? Or did I write this on? No, I didn't write this here. I wrote this somewhere else. So here you can, for instance, in a pair RDD, then collect the amount of how often is a word in a text, and so on. Tip to cool down here. No hurry. We're in no hurry, and we're going to get to the stuff. So the things with an RDD is it lives in memory. This is very important. This is what we have seen in the last podcast. It's not like with MapReduce that you have always you need to always store the data back on a hard drive. It lives in memory. It's read only. It's immutable, basically. And here comes the interesting stuff. So it's lazy evaluated, and this is how we get from RDD to actions, transformations, caching, and so on. Lazy evaluate. This means, like they say here, the data inside an RDD is not available or transformed until an action is executed that triggers the execution. So this means when you are starting, let's say you read something from a file and then you do some transformations, then this is not executed immediately. It's executed once a action is triggered. So what is the transformation? A transformation is something like a flat map or a map, or something like it should also be reduce. Was the reduce also here? Cache. Yeah, filtering, mapping partitions, some splitting stuff. So this is all a transformation of a RDD, and this is not triggered immediately. And what happens? Yeah, it's like this here. You're reading from Hadoop, you're doing maps, and then you shuffle the thing, and then you're getting another RDD, and then you reduce this, and so on. So this is transformations. Group by key, reduce by key. These are all transformations. And these are not triggered. What are they triggered? They're triggered with actions. And actions are stuff like count, collect on the driver, which is for each partition, reduce, take, and so on. So aggregate functions. So this stuff is going to triggering the thing. Like also count async. Okay. A simple use case and a simple example is what we had seen in the word count example. Maybe I can. Do I still have that up? Let me just check something. Is that thing still running? Why isn't that running? Just a second, guys. Okay, let me bring this in here. What we had seen, like with now I need to improvise here. Word time for stats. Do I have a simple thing here? Twitch chat example. Which one was that? I want to bring an example in here. What was this? A simple example. Dimitrios already says, well, filter data. Yeah, count is always an action here, like this one here. Yeah, here we have a very simple one. Let me just make this bigger. Here I used some count as an example. So what I did there is, this is basically, let me just, this stuff up here that doesn't matter right now. There was some, or I did some filtering stuff and some splitting of lines, and then I mapped this. I mapped each line, so there was a basically line. It's a pair RDD with no, that was not line, that was text, basically text and one, and then I was counting all that, and then so basically this is a action here, and then this here, this is again a transformation, and then this is another transformation, and this here is a count, action. So basically I used a file, and in that file I was searching for the biggest spammers, the people that sent the most. So basically what I did is I splitted the lines so I get out the users, and these then, those users, each time I saw a user, I was giving them, I was registering the name and a 1, and then I just counted this, how many lines. These are basically prints total number of messages, basically the lines in each of these things, and then I was doing the reduce by key, and then this counted then, this gave me then, this here is basically name and number of messages. This filter here, this was for the chat, by the way. So I was reducing stuff, and then this is, I'm not 100% sure what that was here. So I was remapping this, and then I was counting that again. So the idea here is, let me just go back here again. So this is all a transformation, and this is an action, and this is a transformation, this, and this is an action. So, and now comes the problem. And here we go, make the jump to caching. The problem is when you are starting to use to reuse basically RDDs, reuse variables, and when you in this case basically, how was that? I need to think quickly. If I remember correctly, then the action is getting triggered multiple times when you are working, when you start working with the whole thing again. So when you are doing more transformations here, and then when this action is triggered, I think when I remember correctly here, this action is also triggered again. So this thing triggers this thing, and this thing all triggers these transformations here. This is not that crazy, because this is only once, you only use this once, but when you have a loop down here, and then you're running into the problem that this stuff up here is getting run multiple times, and then this is a big problem. So this could happen, for instance, in a case where you, let me just, where's my node? OneNote. This could happen in a case where you take some data. Why isn't it writing? Where you take some data, you transform it, and then you have an action. And then here comes basically the thing. Here you have a loop. And in that you're continuing to work with this RDD. This is basically going inside the loop. And so this action would be, and the transformations before that would always be triggered when you are going through the loop. And this is what you could do is then you make this here persistent. Or caching. It's basically the same in Spark. And then you're no longer have the problem that the stages before that are getting triggered, because so if you don't cache, stuff gets actions before that are getting basically recalculated, and that's a problem. And if this is especially a problem if you're doing complex things and you are having huge data sets, then you at some points you want to cache a data set because you reuse it. For instance, one example would be you have some data and you process it, and then you're writing this into a Kafka topic. You're writing this into Kafka topic 1. Kafka 1. And you're taking the same RDD and you process it further. And you're writing it into Kafka topic 2. The problem is this, if you don't cache, this process here is going to trigger this here again. And all the stuff that is coming before that. And then you're running into problems. I think that this makes sense, or should make sense. Guys, I think I need a quick feedback. If that makes sense to you. Yeah. So this is more or less a do I have some I don't want to show you the names of the people here. This thing is stuck. Let's just check something. Or not. Okay, I just continue. So now what we have is we are having the Git book. We talked about this. We talked about RDDs a bit. The basic stuff within RDDs, actions and transformations, caching, which is basically tuning. Sometimes you don't see this immediately, and then you're running into these problems. And another thing are broadcast variables. I quickly want to mention here. Again, as you can see, I'm using Jacek's stuff. So the thing is, if you are, for instance, is there an example? No. No. Okay. Here's the example. Here's an example for broadcast variables, and this is when you want to broadcast something. You are on the driver, and on the driver you have a variable that is a configuration. Variable config. This is within the driver. This is when you're writing in the Java code, and in the Java code, this is basically the main here. And within that, you're going to do RDDs. And RDDs have partitions, so they are partitioned. And you're on the driver unless you're doing something like a for each partition. That is basically a loop. And within these loops, you can further then process each line of the RDD. Now, the problem is this here, this part within the for each, this here is on the executor. Let me do this different. This one here is on the this is on the driver. Let's do this in green as well. And this is your main here, main class. So within the main, you're going to write your code, and then you're going to set a config variable with some configs. And within the code, you create some RDDs, and you want to then process the RDDs, and everything on here is still on the driver. And then what you're going to do is you're going to say something like for each partition. And within for each partition, everything runs on the executor, and the executor runs on the worker. Executor/worker here. And the problem that you have is this config, this is not visible on the executor, on the worker basically. /executor. And so what you're going to do is you are going to do this, use this thing here, and make a broadcast variable out of it. And then what happens is basically this, what you see here. You have in the driver, you have a variable, and you'd say Spark streaming or Spark context, broadcast that variable, and then this RDD then gets broadcasted onto the worker, and the tasks that are running inside the executors, they have access to this variable. And that is a very, very important thing for making stuff or for bringing global variables like configurations onto the worker, into the tasks to basically work with. And nobody is screaming. I don't know what is going on, guys. I don't know if you guys have already left. Is the stream bad or? It says bad. I actually don't know. No. Okay. Okay. Dimitri says everything is cool stream-wise. The rest. Yeah. So I just want. The thing is, these are. It's not that easy to explain, and as you can see, it's hard. I'm struggling as well to bring this as clear as, or make this as simple as possible, because this stuff fits together. This stuff fits together. You have the RDDs. The RDDs are basically you have the lines in the RDDs, and the RDDs are partitioned, and the partitions you can then work with. And the problem is with this parallel processing, that somehow you need to it's simple. You need to process the data, and Spark has done this by making the distinction between transformations and actions. And when you do a lot of transformations and then an action, and then you continue working with RDDs, then actions are getting triggered that already have been done. And this is why you're going to need caching. And this is the other problem, this is basically the last one, was because you're working in parallel, and the processing that is basically done, for instance, in, where's my notepad, my OneNote, the stuff that is working on the executor, like in a for each partition, this thing has no or cannot access global variables, and this is why you need broadcasting to basically bring these to the workers, so the workers can access these things. Okay, now the questions are coming. I'm curious. Can you use it for transactions? No. The thing what you can do is, for instance, when you're working with Kafka, you can is that called transactions with Kafka? Let me just Google it quickly. I'm in the presentation mode. Let me just quickly Google this. How this is called. Yeah, broadcast can also be used for optimization, because you can deliberately send stuff onto the worker nodes. Yeah, but did I have a use case where I really gained some performance from broadcasting? I think most of the time caching was a huge Spark Kafka transaction. I think it's called transaction. Let me just quickly bring it over here. With Kafka, what you do is you start by obtaining offsets. So when you read stuff, you're reading the offset. Is there some complete example here? I guess this is auto commit. Did they have auto commit? So what you can do is within. Yeah, here's the thing. Here's the with Kafka. Here's the example with Kafka how you do the whole commit thing. What you do in the beginning when you're in the for each RDD, which is basically also in parallel mode. You're getting offsets from Kafka. So you're reading messages from Kafka, and what you do is you're getting the offsets for it. And once you have the offsets, you do all the processing, and after the processing has finished, what you do is you commit the offsets, and then basically next time you read, you're starting from the committed offset further or further on. And the idea behind this is once this thing, I need to make this a bit smaller. When you fall out here in the calculation, then offsets are not getting committed, and you're starting to read from the same stuff in the next round. So if you're basically having a streaming, you're starting every 30 seconds a processing. You're getting data, you're storing the offsets, the range basically from where to where you have read, and then after processing you're committing these. But if you run into an error, these are not getting committed, and the next time you start reading from them again. And this is basically this is a way of, if you're having problems, you can make some code changes and then just start it again because the offsets are not committed, and you're more or less you're in a transaction and the messages are getting processed again and are going to work. But this is not exactly once. So basically you could process messages multiple times, and then this is this should be at least once. Join operations also for optimization. Accumulators, we're getting into some stuff, some very, very interesting stuff. I have to admit, with accumulators, I'm not really familiar with, because the stuff I'm usually doing is a very, very low level, and our low level is a strange word to use here. What did I want to mention something more here? Was there something interesting? I had something in mind before I went onto the accumulators. What was it that I wanted to talk about? That was the original one. Jupyter notebooks. This is, by the way, we're not going to do this because we're not going to do Python. So this is why I'm leaning towards Zeppelin. Okay. I don't know what I want to talk about. Something else, guys? Otherwise, we are going to finish right here. This is a lot of information, and I think once I decided which platform to use, maybe by tomorrow, then I'm going to do going to prepare a very, very simple example. Yeah. Okay. The silence is, you guys said everything is good. Good explanation. I'm guessing the questions for now are not so many. Often error of a broadcast. Everything object that is broadcasted should be serializable. Had some pains with that sometimes, just for the silence. Yeah, I can remember that. Yeah, every object. Yeah. I can remember I had some issues with this also. I'm not sure. That has been some time ago. I would need some example for that, where exactly the problem was. Okay, guys. Let me just quickly check the next. What was the next thing? The day 3. Python or Scala. So basically, I already decided Scala. Then what we're going to do is Scala. Then what we're going to do is set up the system, the Docker, Databricks, or Zeppelin. As I said, I'm right now I'm favoring. You guys don't see it, man. Scala, set up the Docker, Databricks or Zeppelin. I'm not 100% sure. Again, I'm leaning towards Zeppelin because I have some experience with that, and it's already set up. Read JSON map, flat map partition. We're going to look into this, and we're going to make a example about this. Map and reduce an example for each partition, and then we're going to write somewhere. I'm thinking local or S3. I don't know if I can set up an S3 bucket. I should be able to set up an S3 bucket. I'm going to look into this. Maybe local first, because I'm always short on time. Okay, I'm thinking this is let me just bring this back here. So day 1, day 2, day 3. So day 3, we're setting this up. We're going to start coding in Scala. Simple example. A Docker container. And yeah. And this is what I'm not sure about. Is there a Docker container for Databricks? Because when I went onto the Docker Hub, let me just Docker Hub. Okay, I'm not signed in. If I search here for Databricks, I'm getting this here, Databricks base. basic runtime. This is deprecated. Experimental. This is some build tool. Minimum dependencies to launch Databricks container service. I'm not 100% sure what this is. Python, no. Databricks runtime standard, but the downloads are not very, very high. So I don't know. Yeah, it says it's a web URL. What does that mean? Then I need to run on some servers. People need to run this online. How does that work? How does that work? Because I can go here and I can go. Where was that? Is it possible to view understand cache problems by viewing DHG visualizations? Still here. Yeah, you can flush something from cache. I think I can remember. The DHG. I know the devil is in the details. And let me just think about this. You can see the timing through this. You can see the stages, how the stages move, but there you cannot see these problems. But you can, if you cache something, you see it here in the visualization that something is cached. Green shaded boxes, yes. Basically here are this is when you do, this is when you cache something, and okay, Nick, what we're going to do, we're going to keep this in mind, because when we are using when we go with Zeppelin, I think the UI, the Spark UI, you can access this from Zeppelin. And then what we are going to do is we're going to find out if we can find these caching problems within. It's a bit difficult because we're not on a huge cluster. But I think this is a good way of finding that stuff out. Let me just check something. Okay. What was that? 4041. Okay, I don't know. Yeah. All right. I think now now I'm finished here. The problem is now I'm interested. Now I'm interested. Yeah, you can see the timelines, but the timelines. Execution DHG. This is always the same example. This is so stupid. Joins. I'm trying to find a good example, and yeah, and then we're going to get to that. Let me just put this back in here. A read map local, and then find out caching problems with DAG visualization. No, I'm not going to open links here on the chat that I haven't checked before. And yeah, again, I don't want to go into a online thing. This is what I don't like with this. Yeah, there's a platform and you just need to log in, and everybody who is going to do this and who is going to try this, he's going then also on this platform and he's going to log in there, and then he's basically locked there. I'm not sure if I want, or I'm thinking I don't want to go that route. I want to keep something that is very, very simple. Download something on a Docker container, run the container, so everybody can get this container and everybody can run it, stop it, start it, basically theoretically modify it or expand on this. And yeah, but I'm going to check the link that you have sent. And yeah, okay guys, now we're already an hour in and I'm going to go to bed because it is very late. I don't know if I have time for a stream tomorrow. Maybe we need to do this on Saturday. Yeah, I think tomorrow I don't have time, because what I'm trying to also set up here is I'm trying to set up a company because of tax reasons, and yeah, I have some stuff coming. But I'm going to tell you more about this in the maybe not next week, but once I have everything set up. Okay, guys, see you on. Let me just bring myself here. See you on, I guess, on Saturday. I'm going to put up the link to the stream, or the stream early. An hour before this stream, I realized that I haven't really. I haven't set up the stream. I thought I did this yesterday, but turns out I didn't. Thanks again, everybody, for the great discussions here, and yeah, it's great stuff. It's fun. I hope it's as much fun for you guys as for me. I'm trying to learn also more stuff, and for me, by trying to explain it, this is. I'm trying to learn more and give back to you guys. I know not everything is perfect here. Okay. See you around. See you hopefully on Saturday. If not, I'm going to keep you updated on LinkedIn. Yeah. And don't forget, hit the like button on this video and share it with your friends. Check out the cookbook, and if you like this stream and you want to support what you like, check out my Patreon. You can become a Patreon, you can become a plumber and support this stream. Thanks a lot. Bye bye guys. See ya on Saturday.